Okay, well, it's really wonderful to be here with these three amazing entrepreneurs and sustainable business leaders. I'm sure you all have a number of questions, so please use the QR code to ask the questions. I can monitor them here in this iPad, so if you ask questions, please put them in there and I'll try to get to them. I have a few questions myself, having sat through the really impressive presentations. And so I'll just start with a few questions, but the more questions from all of you, the better. So Bernice, I'm going to ask you the first questions. I'll just go actually in the same order that we're here. Your presentation was really compelling on the issues with the system of fashion. And one of the things I really appreciated was that you were focusing on systemic change, not just, many times change is just sort of one-off dealing with symptoms as opposed to root causes at the system level. But I was wondering if you could give some more examples, maybe, particularly your use of design, which is a real focus, I know, of Deploy, and how you think about design both in the pre-production as well as post leaving your factory gates, because those are where there's really challenge in the system, and I'd love to hear things that Deploy is doing on those areas.
Okay, thank you, Chris. So at Deploy, what we do before we start the collection is really we listen to customers in terms of all the challenges that they face wearing clothes. So there's millions of things out there, but we very often can't find what we want. Why is that? Women's dresses never have pockets, crotches don't fit well in the trousers, men's suit trousers always wear out and then it doesn't match the jacket anymore. So these are sort of practical things that we really, really try to get a deep understanding of. And then we design focusing on these issues that we can resolve for you. But then at the same time, we start our collection by looking at what not to design, as I mentioned, what not to buy. So we always use past seasons or current seasons off-cut fabrics, shreds of things that normally go to the bin. We actually look at how we use those to start our collection. And as I said, standard pre-consumer waste in fashion and textile is 30%. So that means that we have 30% of the materials to work with, and that immediately cuts our procurement cost and increases our margin, right? And so that's how we can really try and use resource efficiency to increase our profitability and growth trajectory. And that's the beginning part. The end part that you also asked is that, for example, I took off my collar. I'm taking off my cuff now, too. Cuff and collar are the two parts that gets busy, dirty, the most easily, right? So these are the things that we can actually help you manage your laundering process. You can spot clean, you use minimal water, energy, time to have better convenience, better style. You can also just replace these bits without replacing the whole garment. And that way, after sales service, we continue the relationship with customers, which is what I mentioned, increase loyalty, great for the business, but increase actual convenience and serviceability for the customers as well.
Yeah, and I think, increasingly and really in tomorrow's expectations on business is going to be that sort of full value chain, scope 3. And so, thinking through, at the beginning of the value chain and then all the way to the end, I think, makes a lot of sense and is a real important model for the future.
I think I just want to share also because I failed to actually mention that the circular economy of a better business actually doesn't really close the circle. It's a helix economy because we can only manage right now to extend the use of resources within the system. Because however much we recycle plastic, it doesn't become fossil. It doesn't become fuel again, right? So that's why I call it a helix economy of sustainability, where we really need to think, how do we use minimal resource to increase both sustainability and profitability? And that's what we're able to prove in Deploy. That sustainability is not just an extra cost center, it's an actual new opportunity for improvement
Great.
in business performance.
Thank you for adding that. Super. So next, move on to you, Ian, and love your products as well. I mean, that Bentley bag was, amazing. The things you talked about also were around circularity and reuse. Similar. I mean, I think building off of what Bernice was just saying. One of the things I'd like to, understand a little bit more about Continue is the people aspect. You had a lot of very strong points in your presentation on the environmental aspects, but the B impact assessment being a B Corp is about the whole company. So could you say a little bit more about your human resources, who's manufacturing your products, how they're treated, maybe in some of the talent pipeline that you have as well?
Right. Sorry. Thank you for the ask about the question. Can anyone raise your hand who work in the human resources team? Can anyone? No? It's amazing. Right. The hiring people are always challenging.
Yeah.
Right? Of course, I wanted to hire the person has the great skill, great work experience, but they might work in the Samsung or LG. But who is the best person who can work and continue? Also, I have many experience, has great experience. For example, our designer, the ex-designer, he used to work in Versace in Milan, but wasn't fit our company because they should understand our mission. They should understand understand our mission, and they also need to be passionate about the better business. Without the understanding our mission, was really hard to work in our company. So we're just looking for the person who passionate about the better business. So we hired this kind of the person first, and also we train them to their more professional skills. And also we give the job opportunity for this people from North Korea. But we don't tell this kind of story to others. We don't use these kind of things as a marketing. It is just our responsibility. We also give the job opportunity to the woman who quit the job due to their child. And also other like the disabled person, like a blind. So we give a job opportunity to elderly person who quit their job because of the age. But we train them working in our factory. But we don't say this story to others. Because, yeah.
Super, thank you.
We don't want to use this story as a marketing. So yeah.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. I appreciate it. And I'll also go to Emmy. Also really impressed, though, very much with the human aspect and also your work in communities. But one issue as a technology company requires frequently a tremendous amount of expertise to actually solve, the problems that your clients probably have. Data security is something that is a really essential, role that requires a lot of expertise. And I'd love to hear more about how the people that you bring into the company, particularly from less traditional backgrounds, maybe older or people that are staying at home, you can work them into your system through training and upskilling them so they can meet your client needs.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you for the question. Okay, actually there are several aspects we are working on. From starting, so I will start about our initial training and hiring. We actually hire people in our local area so that many of us are living in near our headquarters, or they can commute daily. So we recommend them to go to the office if possible, at least in our first initial training phase, so that sharing our basic skills face to face, they can become the kind of associate employee engineers in our first 2 months. And so that and also our second aspect is that as I mentioned earlier, with modeling we share, we share our technical skills with each other. So to deliver technical security services, there are, we assume, there are 80% of ordinary tasks and 20% of professional skills. As for about 80%, with our program, the trained employees can do that by anyone.
Wow.
And about 20%, actually, they are very difficult points. It requires high technical skills or responsibilities. So that about that kind of 20% of our tasks, it is conducted by, that is true, skilled people.
Great.
It makes sense?
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you for filling in those details. I think it's very helpful to think about, you know, a lot of times, and there's not a lot of B Corps in the information technology, area, and I think that, Kraft provides a really nice example of how, companies that are focused on technical solutions can actually have a social impact and social mission. So thank you. So I'm glad to see some questions coming in. Thank you very much. And some of them actually are in Chinese. So maybe you're sort of overestimating my Chinese reading ability. 对不起，我的中文其实不太好。So if you could please use Google Translate or something and put them in English, I'd appreciate that. So anyway, so I have a couple other questions myself, and then I'll get to some of these questions. So one of the things that, given so many countries are represented here from Asia, B Corp communities, and as one of the presentations described, a real special thing about the B Corps is that they do have this community aspect, work together in the Beauty Coalition or for Net Zero 2030. And you represent 3 different countries here, and it'd be interesting to hear a little bit about the B Corp ecosystem in each of your countries, and what are some of the special elements or elements that you've really appreciated. And the first one here, I may be able to fill in some details too in the UK, but Bernice, please tell us a little bit about B Corps in the UK and how you've engaged with the community.
Thank you, Chris. Yes, so as you saw on the B Corp stats, Britain has proudly got over 2,000 B Corps. And so that is a great movement to which it really shows that businesses and consumers are really going for this better way of businessing and really thinking through how we can implement sustainability. And so there is a real energy in the B Corp events, in the B Corp community, in terms of, gifting in B Corp products, or having B Corp forums and CEO breakfasts at London B Corp events. However, I would say that 2 of the things that we really need to find a way to implement is policy. Because as much as Britain is way up there in terms of B Corp certification, our policies are actually behind in implementing requirements for sustainable and producers' responsibility, much more behind than the EU, which is implementing the Green Deal, and scores of legislation is coming into play. So I often use the example of smoking. We all became non-smoking countries, not because tobacco companies decided to do good and make us smoke less and be healthier, but because of public health education and because of legislation. So we, as a community of B Corps, we need to really accelerate policies being put in place. And that will be the power of actually mandatorily requiring businesses to be transparent, to be accountable, and to do good. So that's what I would really encourage each country's B Corp community to do.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that. And I think that, as I've been writing on this, a lot of the the B Corps are amazing examples of sort of proving that this works, basically, that business can really be sustainable and environmentally friendly and create impact, but we need to move from a situation of voluntary to more mandatory through policy. So I both agree, and also I'm really glad because one of our questions was about what more should the government be doing, and I was glad that you already answered that one question we have. So next we're going to move on to Ian, and would be interested to hear more about the B Corp ecosystem in Korea.
Right. There is more than 2,000 community in the UK. Maybe I heard that Australia has more than 700, right? What about in Taiwan? How many companies certify the B Corp?
50.
50, wow. In South Korea, maybe 30? How many? 31. 30, oh yes. We are getting close. Right, very few. And we are the one and only certified the Korean fashion company has the B Corp. We are the one and only company. So we haven't any opportunity and chance to cooperate with because but maybe I want to work. I haven't tried, so I don't have any experience. So, but I wanted to work with other like the big company. There is the one great marketing, the branding company called the Bread and Butter, who attend the forum today. Maybe we want to work with them to making the better business to build the B market, but. Yeah, I haven't tried, but we will looking for a chance for the next.
Good. Well, you guys can talk at the break and figure out some next project. And that's something in the research we've done. I've found a lot that actually sort of partners and procurement processes for B Corps actually frequently relies on a lot of B Corps. So that's a great example. Thank you. Great. And so now, Amy, let's hear about Japan.
Hi. Okay. So I'd like to share Japanese news. I'm really happy because a new B Market Builder Japan was launched this March, and there are many friends from B Market Builder Japan. Yeah, please raise your hands. Yeah, there.
Okay, Japan.
Thank you. And so far, there are 40 B Corps in Japan. So compared to its population, it's not so big yet. But there are more and more companies. They are in certification queue, and so that and already our B Market Builder Japan community has its an online community, and there are over 500 people, I think. So it's very energetic community, and there are already a kind of ecosystem. People can share their knowledge and ask for help or something like that. So they are a good cycle because, so they are B Market Business Shop, BMBJ supports and organizes some activities. And of course, B Corps and people with knowledge will give their knowledges. And there are many people, company members, they want to be B Corps or they want to get involved in that kind of community. So really good ecosystem, I think. And so I think so. The next step is to attract general consumers or companies. So and especially I'm in IT industry, so it is very challenging for us to show how beneficial to be B Corp in this IT industry.
Great. Good. Well, that actually leads to another question that came up here, and I'm going to ask next. Maybe we'll skip you since you already mentioned it. I'll come up with another question, but I'm going to ask Bernice and Ian, is around consumer interest in both sustainability, but then also B Corp in general. I know, many of the companies I've talked to be very honest, wish that consumers knew more about the B logo and cared more about buying from B Corps. And so, love to hear a little bit, and again, start with you, Bernice, on consumer interests in both the B Corp logo and then also sustainability that's at the core of your product more generally.
Okay. I think in the UK in particular, a lot of people are now very interested in buying sustainable fair trade products. In the States, where we also operate a lot, comme ci, comme ça, yes, people are sort of interested, but very few people have heard of B Corp, actually. And so I think this kind of awareness is definitely something we need to strengthen. But I think what we need to strengthen is not just the logo in terms of the certification recognition, but in terms of the movement really towards knowledge share and informing and equipping consumers with the know-how of what does it actually mean for a product to be sustainable, because there are so many different mixed messages out there. And in the media, we get always fragments of information, right? So there is a lot of greenwashing, and there is also a lot of times when just because something is vegan leather doesn't necessarily mean that it has much lower environmental impact, because a lot of vegan leather, for example, has to use heavy amount of plasticization in order to make it durable and weatherproof. So these are the kinds of information that I think we really need to start by teaching kids in school, like health education, not only as an elective in university, as a sustainable environmental class. So I think that's where we can really help consumers become a force of nature and force of good. And it's why I'm speaking in all sorts of different forums, public, private, schools, and corporations, to really share how we can decipher. For example, I'm going to give you one tip today, is when you buy clothes, please don't buy blends of polyester, acetate, viscose, and a bit of cotton. Because that means that this item is completely non-recyclable, completely non-biodegradable, and no one will go and unravel the yarn to make anything reusable as well. So if you want to buy 100% polyester, buy 100% recycled polyester or nylon. Otherwise, try and buy natural fibers, cotton silk blend, cotton wool blend, great. But if it's a whole blend of mixture, please refrain from it. And that's 80% of what's out there in the market. So choose wisely, please. Thank you.
Great. Well, great advice for all of us as consumers. Thank you. Yeah. So next, going to over to you, Ian, for the same question around consumer interest. Although I want to also mention sort of one of the other questions that came in. They asked if you were going to be giving away any more bags.
All right. All right. I can give you the discount code. But yeah, we have one more bag. But yeah, so if anyone interested in our products, just come to our booth. Yeah. Okay. First come, first on, first serve. Yeah. Right. In South Korea, you know how many fashion brands in South Korea? It's more than 10,000 brands exist in Korea. But there are a lot of the greenwashing brand, because we are the one and only B Corp certified company, which means, but there are many looks like very environmentally friendly fashion products, but almost every products are greenwashing. So my question was then how we can make a difference between the greenwashing company and the continue. So why we certified the B Corp, the certification. It took 18 months since we applied the certification, but even only few people know about the B Corp. So, but we wanted to tell the clear verification of the environmental impact. So yeah, even people don't know about what is the B Corp, but we just try.
Great.
Yeah.
No, thank you. That's great. Next, Emmy, you started us actually on this line of questions, so I won't ask you the same one. But a few of the questions actually for everyone are generally about the role of the company in the overall sort of industrial ecosystem that they're in. And what I mean by that is, okay, so you're a cybersecurity firm in the IT industry in Japan, and as a company with a social mission, are there any sort of special either challenges or unique capabilities that you have compared to your competitors that appeal to consumers? So really the challenges based on your mission or opportunities for new clients.
Thank you for the question. Yeah. Actually, we are facing lots of challenges to be so socially responsible company. Yeah. It's not up in my presentation, but we craft and delivers a cybersecurity management system to support SMEs. And for SMEs, we deliver it for free. But many of them are just using our system just because it is free, cheap. So especially in kind of IT department members or so, have had really kind of, it's for them, it is very difficult to conduct their business in the long term. So they have to be focused on short-term results or something like that. So we were chosen because of its cheap or so. So it is kind of, a bit difficult. But I think it's also important to improve awareness. So kind of it's okay they are using our services because it's free. But someday I think they will know, or they will understand what we are doing. So we believe so. So we keeping on telling our stories or having lectures in cybersecurity conferences or events or so. So we have to kind of educate them to kind of find, it is difficult than our previous practices or so.
Great.
Yeah, so it's very difficult, but improving awareness is very important.
Great, thank you. So maybe I'll go this way this time. So Ian, I'll ask you next. And again, it's about, in general, the ecosystem that you're in. So you are working with, I was amazed at the brands that you're working with, sort of all the amazing cars that I used to like when I was a kid. I mean, this is pretty impressive. So the question is about, how did you develop the partnership with those brands? In addition, maybe, how about more mass market brands and using their products? And then to put a third layer on that, sorry for being so complicated, like what % of the wasted material do you think you're using? So basically to see the upside. So how did you work with your partnerships, more mass market brands as well, and then basically the percentage of waste that you think you're able to actually capture through your products?
Partnership, but the first time was really difficult because the first partner must be the manufacturer, car manufacturer, who buried this kind of the waste that we need. So must be Hyundai Motors or Kia Motors or Lear. Lear is the US company that produce this safety equipment and they supplier for the Porsche and Mercedes. They're based in South Korea too. But it was really hard to contact them because always economy. But I will contact them for more than a year. So more than a year. But now we have a very strong partnership with them because since they send all these kind of the waste materials, they could see that they also can reduce the waste. They can reduce the cost. Because before we collect this material, they just paid for the tipping fees and landfill. But since we collect these kind of materials, so they can save the money for that. So we have becoming the strong partnership with them. So now we are more than 40,000 cars we have upcycles. And what was the second question?
So I think if someone answered it, more mass market brands.
More mass market, yeah. Now at the first time, when only using the material from the end of life vehicle was really hard to go to the mass market. But now we collect the materials a mass way, more than 5 tons or 10 per month. It isn't a problem, but we are now on the mass market. So but we don't do partnership with only the manufacturer, like the car manufacturer, who can provide the materials.
Great. Yep. Super. So the next question, sort of set of questions I'm going to ask or around access to finance and capital to help your businesses grow. So maybe start with you on this one, Bernice, if you wouldn't mind talking about, I'm not sure what the investor situation is for, but how much you're willing to sort of discuss and disclose. Are investors interested in your business? What are some of the questions they might have? Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so we actually started as a self-finance business, and originally we were talking to external investors upon our founding. But back then, in 2005, 2006, really the awareness of sustainability, environmental responsibility, social responsibility was not there present in minds of investors. And I would say that fast forward 18 years, having proven our case with our own positive cash flow and growing 30% year on year through entirely self-finance, low debt business model, which is actually quite a traditional business model, we are proud to say that we are now open to discussing with investors not because we want to just scale up like everyone wants to and push out more and more and more things, but because I think investors have the right mindset, or at least there are many investors out there, ESG-based investors, green investment, impact investors, who are now specifically looking for social, environmental businesses that are trying to grow. The truth is that the growth of sustainable practice is too slow. 18 years ago, when I started Deploy in fashion, there were 1/4 of the waste as it is today. So as much as we think that we are improving and really raising the awareness and doing better than we did before, we are actually doing worse, because the problem is now 4 times bigger than it was in the late 90s. So this is where we really can't turn a blind eye and pretend that we can put plaster on a cancer tumor. So I am interested now to really scale up the impact of what we can change around the world, not just to scale up and push out more things that the world does not need and is going to continue to damage. And so we're open for discussion for anyone who's interested.
Yeah, good. Not sure how many investors there are in the audience, but that's a good, lots of people here to broadcast that to. That's great. Ian, I'd love to hear a little bit as well about sort of access to capital and investor relations for Continue.
All right, yeah, we got invested from the ESG fund by the government and the other, like the venture capitals. More than 3 million, I think, so far in US dollar, but it's really hard to persuade them. For example, we built the hybrid water recycle systems. It cost a lot, but we could build this kind of system because we got fundraise from the ESG fund, but the VC, venture capitalists, disagree with my idea, because they just, even the money is from ESG, you just make money, you just spend the money for the marketing, they said, because that is not for the long-term strategy. We want to make a difference between another environment-friendly company. So we need to change the whole process. But even the ESG fund, venture capital, they disagreed. It was really hard to persuade them. So since that time, I don't take any like the fundraise.
Got it.
Yeah.
And I think, again, I think the government can play a big role in this, going back to one of the questions and what Bernice was saying earlier. So interesting to hear your initial funding was from the Korean government. How about you, Emmy? So the access to capital and investor relations for your company.
I see. Actually, my company is, so far, our company is owned by our directors and not funded by kind of external people, and it is kind of unique to cybersecurity industry, and this industry is kind of its competitiveness and kind of long tail. So there are a lot of small or medium-sized cybersecurity companies, and we expect there are still our possibilities to kind of to improve our revenue. So that in case, in our case, so human resource acquaintance and education is very important for us.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
Good.
thank
Well, we're closing in on the last few minutes, and so just as a final sort of set of words from each of our presenters, some of the questions I think are from the perspective of students, and obviously we're a university, have a number of students in attendance as well. It would be great to hear sort of future advice for students at Zhengzhou University and what you think about they should be considering for their career, types of places to work, and products to buy, or not buy, actually. So we'll start with you, Bernice.
Okay, I would say that thinking back to my own career, starting as a young professional, I would really advise those who are starting up your career, whether in joining a corporation or have ideas for startup, is to not just conform to the norm. Don't do things just because everyone else does it. And then don't do things just because it seems to be the way forward. Really think through why you're doing it. And why is it okay, really, to do it like this? Because I worked in fashion for years when it seemed like the right career trajectory. I was heading up design departments of luxury brands, but I saw every single day exploitation of people and the environment. And I had to really ask myself, am I okay with making money this way, helping others to make money this way? And if I'm not okay with it, what am I going to do about it? How can I really, as a small person, change a system? And where do I begin? So how do I make a difference in my position as a change maker? And that's what I would really encourage, even those of you who are already in industry for years or who are chief execs and chairmen of big businesses. How do we make a difference with every day that we contribute on this planet? And look beyond and beneath and behind, and then look forward in how we can really research and reform our system.
Great, thank you. Over to you, Ian, sort of career and other advice for students here?
All right, I just want to tell you this. My question to students, who can change the world to make it better? Like a big company, you think? It can be, but without your supporting, without your choice, big company cannot be survive. So, which means the better world. Maybe you are looking for the answer for the making better world, but the business with your right support, for example, like buy the Patagonia instead of Nike, for example. So, sorry. So anyhow, your choice, your right choice can make it a better world, not just the company. That's just what I want to tell you about.
Great.
Yeah.
No, thank you. Next over to you, Amy.
Okay. Yeah. When I was a student, okay, yeah, my suggestion is to listen to your heart. So don't compare to other people. So what do you want to do to make better world? And what decision will make you feel happier when you get older? I think this is a really important point for students nowadays.
Great. It's great. Well, it's great to close with those important points for students. And I just want to say myself, one of the things that I've always been so inspired and impressed with from the B Corp community is these stories of entrepreneurs. And it's a global network. I think there's about 40 different B locals or market builders around the world. And they're all unique and different. we've heard about from Taiwan, from the UK, from Korea, and from Japan now. And I think that, using business as a force for good is something that both connects all of us around the world, but also is very much a local phenomena. So I really think it's a pleasure and a privilege for all of us to learn from many different examples that you provided. So thank you all very, very much.
Thank you，谢谢这么精彩的分享。